let's decode it. Can we do this? We can do this. First of all, who here wants to help? What's a vineyard? What is the symbolism of vineyards in Judaism? This is like, those of you who have any access to Hasidic works, they talk about this all the time, the difference between wine and bread, for example. So what is unique about wine, about grapes? It gets better as it ages. That's number one.
You have access to salt.
And it's exactly, okay? So a grape is yummy, but how much can you sell a bunch of grapes for? But if you have a gourmet wine, so then it's a whole different story. And suddenly you can spend hundreds of dollars for a quality wine. All began as grapes. So a grape, so to speak, carries inside it the secret of the alcohol. That's why the rabbis always say, Nichnas yain, yetze sod. When wine comes in, the secret comes out. It's a double metaphor. First of all, if you want to get to know a person, don't do this. Don't do this. But seriously, you're going to meet your husband, right? You'll say, have you seen him on Purim yet? Okay, so that's a good sign. You're still smiling. Because that's it, thank God, yeshiva guys, when they get drunk, they're the sweetest, cutest thing. I'm talking about the ones who are like, I'm talking about the real yeshiva guys when they get drunk. So they just like take different Torah and they're like, it's very beautiful to see. But the idea is you get to know the secrets of a person when they drink wine, but also wine symbolizes the secret dimension of Torah. So when we say bread versus wine, so bread is the staple. So bread, so to speak, symbolizes Torah Shebiksav, the written law, but the oral law, the Beit Midrash. For those of you who would like to join me on a little tour of the Mir Yeshiva. So I'll give you an invisibility cloak, and you can come in, go past the sleeping security guards, and you come in and you see, at first glance, you feel like you're in like some kind of a Haredi Led Zeppelin concert. You know what's going on? It's like this roar coming from the Mir, and you see thousands of people all looking like spare parts from Happy Feet, like penguins everywhere. And then you realize that they are all learning the same page of Talmud, which looks weird at first glance. But then when you understand what's happening, each one of them is learning the same page of Talmud as everyone else. But each one will work on it and work on it and work on it and come out with their own deep understanding. No two people learn a page of Talmud properly, identically. There's always a little bit of your own inner self comes out. Peter is like wine. You squeeze it and you squeeze it. You never get old. You can never really know a page of Talmud. It is infinite as God himself. By the way, that's almost a definition of Talmud, because if Talmud is God's mind in written form, so by definition it's infinite. But the experience, the Talmudic experience, is to squeeze and to squeeze and to squeeze until you get there. As this good lady mentioned, is that wine gets better as it gets old. So most things that gets old, milk gets sour when it gets old. Wine gets better when it gets old. That's why it says that Joseph sent his father Jacob, Yaakov, wine, because das skinim neichahimeno. Because old people, they like it. Why do they like it? They like it because it symbolizes the beauty of old age. Physically, you go down, but the deeper, hidden part of you just gets better and better and better. That's why we Torah Jews are obsessed with the world to come. Because if the inner world gets better as we get older, so surely it will continue to do so after we've discarded our bodies. The bottom line is, wine symbolizes the hidden world of Torah, the secrets of Torah. This is the true miracle of the Jewish people. If you want to know why we're still here, if you want to know the secret of the Jews, it's all found in this wine, in the kromim, in the vineyards. This is the secret success of the Jewish people. I don't know where you'll come from, but I could show you more or less the success of your community is directly proportional to the amount of wine you have in your community, meaning Torah being studied the way it's supposed to be studied at the deepest possible level. I'm a little biased. My wife is from Memphis, Tennessee. So Memphis is surrounded by, you got Louisville, Kentucky to the north, Little Rock to the west, you got Nashville to the east, you got New Orleans to the south. They're all about the same size, the communities. But Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, a generation ago, sent 2 of his top students to Memphis. And Memphis disproportionately has produced Torah scholars and great ladies like my wife, and it sure is nice to see y'all. What can I tell you? It's an amazing community, and I believe a lot of it is because of the quality of the wine, meaning the deep Torah that is studied there. What are foxes? What are foxes in Jewish symbolism? Who knows the story of Rabbi Akiva and the fox? It's a marshal, it's a parable. But once upon a time, there was a fox on the banks of the river. You know the story, Danielle. There was a fox on the banks of the river. What happened next is that the fox tries to tell the little fish, can't you see the fisherman's trying to catch you? It's dangerous inside the water. Get out of the water. And the fish turns around and says, you're supposed to be so smart. You think you can fool me? I know that as long as I'm inside the water, then I can survive. The moment I leave the water, I know what you're going to do to me. You're going to eat me up alive. That's what's going to happen. So as long as I'm in my environment, of course, the water symbolizes the world of Torah, the world of the vineyard. Jews survive directly proportional to the Torah in their community. It's the way it's always been. You have a look at Jewish history. Wherever Jews came to a new place and they set up a yeshiva and they set up the basic institutions of Torah flourishing in their community, then they themselves flourished. And they did not assimilate, and they succeeded. So our success, and by the way, when you say Birkas HaTorah in the morning, part of what you're doing is you're celebrating your lifestyle is surrounded by a centerpiece. And that centerpiece are the yeshivas and the Torah that has been studied in the places that you live and the places that you identify with. So let's go back over here. We have over here, number one, we have the vineyard. The vineyard is Torah Sheba'al Peh. It's the hidden oral law that is studied, passed over from father to son, from parent to child. Then you have the foxes. The foxes are the seduction. The foxes are those people that create an imagery that if you step out of the yeshiva world, then you'll somehow do even better. It is those people that give this image that you can do better in an assimilated, non-Torah environment, and everything's going to work out fine for you. The foxes are always the ones that use the power of their mouth to create an imaginary world that is very enticing, but when you step into it, there's nothing there. The foxes are the second-hand car salesmen in the imagery. I hope none of your dads do this for a living, but the ones that will say, oh, there's no problem. Last week, my son-in-law, I was in the north the whole of last week. My son had told me his friend went to rent a car, one of these cheap car rental places. And the way it works is that when you return the car, they look for dents. And if they find a dent, then they charge you. So my son-in-law told me his friend saw that there was like a sticker on the back of the car, and the sticker was an inappropriate sticker. It was inappropriate, some kind of a female inappropriate dress. And this was the yeshiva guy. So he took off the sticker, even though it was a car rental. He didn't want to have it on the back of his car. And he saw there was like a hole right underneath it. So the people that the car renters were trying to trick him. They were going to remove the sticker and then charge him for that hole. But since he was a good yeshiva boy, he took away the sticker, so he discovered, whatever. I heard that story last week. So those are the foxes. Finally, we have luchos that are written on both sides. What are the luchos that are written on both sides? So here I want to tell you something very important, because of course it fits in with everything I'm trying to get to. The punchline is going to happen in about 5 minutes. The main point of my class, I'm getting there. But the idea of the luchos, here you see, and here you see. What do you need that for? What a ridiculous miracle to have them on both sides. There's 5 over here, and there's 5 over here. What does it help me that it works on both sides? So obviously, there's deep Kabbalistic reasons for it. There's a lot of stuff going on behind it. If you want to go into Kabbalah, you want to go into the mystical world, there's a lot you could say about the luchos. The luchos is a subject in Kabbalah all on itself. There's tons to talk about the luchos. But there's something very simple and very down to earth. And that is the following. The beauty of the Torah, in contrast to almost everything else in life, the beauty of the Torah is that the deeper you go into it, the more you realize that there's no flip side. What do you mean by what does a flip side mean? A flip side is what you call in English small print. There's always the small print. There's a lot of things that look beautiful out there, but they don't tell you the small print. And when you get there, then you realize that it's not exactly what you thought it was. You write a contract, if you don't read the small print, then you can get yourself into trouble. But a lot of things in life, I'm looking at the clock over here, so I really cannot talk to you about this a lot. Let's give you simple examples. Money. is something that from when you're a little child is told to be a value, something you should pursue. And somehow or other, if you're rich, everything falls into place. Now, this is a wise room. How do I know it's wise? Because it's a beautiful day outside, and you are spending your lunchtimes listening to a middle-aged rabbi teaching you Torah. So you're looking for wisdom. You could be out there partying. So you are smart enough that I don't have to tell you the following point. When who are like the incredibly rich people out there? Bill Gates, an incredibly rich man. So he owns Microsoft. I don't know, when the stock market crashes by 5%, so he's losing millions and millions and millions of dollars. Menachem Nissel, who works in the Bay and doesn't have any stocks, and doesn't have any shares, so he sleeps quite fine. Well, not really, because in about a year's time, they're going to tell us that they're cutting our salaries here because there's no donors, but that's a different story. The point I'm trying to make is that on paper, that you think that money is like, you sit there and you think money is going to solve all our problem. There's not. There's a flip side. You go deeper and deeper, and you see there's always a problem over here. Anything that's glamorous, once you get down into real life, you always have to worry. When people, the beautiful people out there, will they make good marriage partners? Good marriage partners is not about what you look like when the two of you are walking into like, some kind of a show. That's not what real life is all about. It's all like when it's 3 o'clock in the morning and someone has to get the kids. It's your turn to get the kids. No, it's your turn to get the kids. Someone has to get the kids. That's the moment of truth. Remember that. That's the moment of truth. Whether you found someone good or not. Honey, I know how hard it is for you. I'm going to push my weary body to get the child because I know you need your sleep. No, tomorrow you're going to go and learn. I need you to be alert. I'm going to run again. That's a beautiful marriage. Of course, it never happens that way. But let's fantasize. The point I'm trying to make is that Torah is not that way. The deeper you go, the more you unfold deeper layers of truth and deeper layers of beauty and how everything fits in with everything else. It's, by the way, the simple meaning when we say God is one. The idea is that complexity means there's small print. But simplicity means the deeper you go, the more you realize that everything fits in perfectly with everything else. Everything is in harmony. Everything is the way it's supposed to be. So now I get to the point. This is the agenda of today's class, because I really want to make a point to you. Unfortunately, I have to make this point. It's not a point that I'm looking forward to making over here. But let's just summarize what's happened so far. The story so far is that Balaam is on the way to destroy the Jewish people. And the angel comes along and says to him in code, you're not going to win this. What is the code over here? The code is this imagery that you are trying to break down a vineyard by letting loose the foxes. The foxes know how to create an illusion that the vineyard is fake, and they create their own virtual vineyard, which you and I secretly know there's nothing there. I'm not going to go on a tirade now to make fun of the society that you and I grew up in. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that what the advertising people say, is going to give you happiness does not give you happiness. No one ever became happy with things. No one ever became happy with things. These things, no matter how sophisticated they are, where's my kosher phone? Okay, it's the kasher, al tidag, okay? This thing will not bring happiness, no matter what they say over here. Is this kosher? Just you should know what kind of rabbi is teaching you, okay? Okay, it's not going to bring you. Things do not bring you. Vacations do not bring you happiness. Partying does not bring you happiness. It doesn't matter who it is, what they're selling to you. And happiness always boils down to what Judaism has been selling since the beginning of time, which is a good marriage, and good parenting, and good house building, and good neighbor building, and good community building, together with God's great purpose, which brings us to a world beyond this world. And all these things are timeless ideas of what it means to bring true happiness to people. So Balaam comes along, and he wants to destroy the Jewish people. He does it through the power of foxes. He does it through the power of this illusion of truth. And the angel says, you can't do it, because the Jewish people have a legacy of luchos that are written on both sides, which means they immerse themselves in a world that the deeper they get, the more they see the beauty. The deeper they get, the more they see how truth is. They see how everything fits in with everything else.